Welcome to the Uncommonality Podcast. I'm Kian, here with my co-host Sal, to bring you into a community of extraordinary entrepreneurs and innovators. We dive deep into the journeys that have defined them, from hard-earned insights to the hurdles that make each success story real. Tune in to find the common ground we share within our uncommon paths, and let's celebrate what makes us all unique. Listen, share, and we're happy to have you be a part of the journey. Thanks. All right, so episode 1, here we go. Sal, why don't we just start by talking about who you are, where you come from, and why people should really care? Because ultimately, we're just the catalysts that are pushing the learning.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's a reason we're interviewing and not being interviewed. So, like you said, I'm Sal Perez. I am originally from Orlando, Florida. I grew up there most of my life, played soccer, which is one of the commonalities that we have amongst each other. And funny enough, I went to a boarding school for soccer, which even deeper than that, talk about a small world, like Uwe is is a good friend of ours, and that's how we know each other, at least one of the touching points, right? And when I came out of college and here to Charlotte, I play soccer, he plays soccer, and we played in like a co-ed Sunday league with each other. And as we got to know each other, right, as, we became more acquainted with each other, like we started talking about what we do, and how I own a wealth management firm, Totem Wealth Management, how you do your Nurses to Nannies, the startup. And I think as we got more comfortable with each other, we kind of shared some of our experiences. We kind of shared why we are in the situations we are, what we've learned, and
we kind of just naturally came closer together.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of commonalities, right? We're into the whole fashion thing. We're into, building. We're into people, and I think
We're into helping.
We're into helping. We're into our health.
Yeah, and realistically, that's what we're doing here, right? So, like, for us, naturally, it's weird how we came together just by coincidence, and that seems to be something that we're going to do here. Yeah. And hopefully that community that we end up building out, it's just a natural support system that we're kind of doing for each other. Yeah. And so, like, Totem Wealth, right? That's a little different than just regular founding and entrepreneurship. Yeah. It's a little more along the business lines of things, but at the same time, a lot of the things that you need to implement to make it real is very real in terms of what something like I do on an everyday basis. Yeah. So, like, why don't you kind of talk about a little bit your journey in that, in terms of getting it up to speed and now having an established business where you're doing this full time, and this is your life, where you get to travel, everybody, between Miami, Charlotte, New York, etc., just living out life and working.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great question because, when I came out of college, I studied for the viewers, I studied finance with a concentration in financial planning. So I am a CFP, Certified Financial Planner. And I started my career off at Vanguard, which is one of the biggest investment firms in the world, between them and BlackRock and Fidelity. And, but I always knew corporate wasn't necessarily my bread and butter, right? You know how I am. I kind of have an issue with authority and being told what to do and things like that, right? Unless I'm the one doing it. So I think the end goal was always, hey, go start up your own firm, go build something for yourself that you can call your own and leave a legacy. Right, there's a reason it's called Totem. There's a reason it's not Perez or Sal anything, right? Because I want this to live past me, right? And I knew that from the beginning, right? So after Vanguard, there were some complications when COVID hit. I went back home to Florida, stayed with my family, and I actually got this role as a partner at a financial firm out of Indianapolis. I was there for about 2.5 years, and there were some disagreements in place, and, one thing led to another, and I took that as a sign from God to say, hey, take this leap of faith, go start up shop, which I did in early 2023, and I haven't looked back since, right? And kind of to your point, like, brought it from zero to where we are today, where I'm blessed in the position to do it full time, right? Don't have to kind of do the night gigs anymore or anything like that. So, I'm very blessed to be in this position, and I wouldn't change it for anything. You talk about the traveling, that's one of the first utmost reasons I started up shop, because I want to work on my own terms, and I want to hire people so I can give them the opportunity to work on their own terms as well.
I like where you're going with this. So why don't you go into this a little bit more? Yeah. How did you kind of understand and process aligning yourself with your career in terms of understanding, okay, I need to work on my own schedule. I need to work for myself. I need to set my standards, and I can't really work on somebody else's clock. Like, how do you get to that kind of position to understand that that's where you're at, who you are, and then having the confidence to then execute on that and go ahead and try something on your own?
Yeah, I mean, you use a funny word, confidence, right? And part of it may honestly be delusion, right? For lack of a better term, I mean, some of the greatest entrepreneurs in the world, like you can attest to this. Like we're kind of weird and we're kind of delusional in the sense that like when no one else sees things, where they're like, no, screw this, like we can do it, right? Even this, I mean, we just put our head down. We're like, hey, let's do it, right? So I guess looking back at everything, I've ever since I was young, I've always wanted to travel, right? Through soccer. Part of the issue with the soccer is that when you're traveling, you show up to the field, you go back to the hotel, you rest, and you do it again, right? You don't really get to enjoy, you don't really get to do these things. But I knew I loved to travel. So I took that as what I would call kind of like a keynote and said, hey, how can I build something in this day and age that allows me to do that, talk to cool people all over the world, have clients all over the country, and not limit myself to some type of geographical location. I mean, from my standpoint, is I love learning about people. I cannot stress that enough. This conversation right here gets me giddy, right? And the people that we're gonna have on eventually gets me giddy, right? And because I like to learn from different backgrounds, I like to learn from different cultures, I like to learn from different people and their experiences, right? Because at the end of the day, anything we ever do is just dialogue, right? At the end of the day, any clients we talk to is a dialogue between us as business owners and them as clients, right? When you're pitching, right? When you're pitching nurses to nannies to people, it's a dialogue between what got you and why you're so passionate about that and how you can serve others.
Yeah, I mean, if we can go into, I guess, a key common thing that we will start introducing in here, founder keys,
Yeah.
I guess, is something that we can definitely attune into and pinpoint throughout our interviews. I would say that that brings up a very good point in terms of founder keys, right? So you're right. When I'm pitching stuff, whether it is my business to investors, to clients, whatever it might be, I have the understanding, which I learned from one of my mentors, who's Charlotte local. The idea that money and sales and business is attached to emotions.
Yeah.
People don't buy product. People don't buy network. People don't buy business or brand. They buy brand, but not to that extent. It's because of the emotions that are attached to it or the feelings that are attached to it. And so when you understand that, essentially what you sell within your business is that emotion or that feeling that you think people are going to end up buying. And so like I totally get what you're saying when it comes to things like that, because that's all feeling people's emotions, feelings, values, and you have to be able to resonate and be in people's shoes to really understand what it is that's going to make them move. And so like I definitely get what you're saying when it comes to things like that.
Well, I mean, it's funny you mention it in that lens because emotion drives everything. And this is coming from someone that has $1 million clients and people that are just like us, you know, relatively out of college and are in student loan debt. Money is a medium for how they feel about things, right? And it goes back to what you were saying about like what type of self-introspecting did you have to do to know that you want to travel, that you want to establish your business in the way that you did. It's because for me, money is freedom, right? And it's not just like freedom, right? Money is always going to grow. Money's always, or not grow, but money's always going to be there and it goes to infinity, right? But what you do with that money can make all the difference in your life, right? It can buy your time back. It can buy you time with your kids. It can buy you time to go travel to places that you haven't been. And it can buy you time, for me, more importantly, time with your family, right? And I think at least from my space, right? Because I work with people and money's a touchy subject for a lot of people.
Of course.
Such a touchy subject, right? And I like to make it feel like you're talking to family about these things. I don't want to be the guy in the corporate suit, you know, hence you can see kind of how I'm dressed. I'm a little bit more laid back. I like to be the guy that you talk to like you're talking to family about money, right? Like you're talking to your kids about money or your parents about money, right? It's something sacred that you should be protected. And that's kind of the lens and my approach on it, right? Because everything people do with their money, everything people do with their business has an underlying emotion behind it, right? Some entrepreneurs, they do it out of spite, right? They're like, no, hell no, I can do this way better than he can. Or I can do this better than they can. That's an emotion. They go start up their shop, right? Some people, you know, how they spend, they do it because they might feel a sense of grandeur. They might feel a sense of worth from making these purchases, right? The spend is irrelevant. It's the emotion behind why they are spending, right? Which ties very well into that. Let me ask you, what emotions, right, or what led you to start up Nurses to Nannies? And maybe give the viewers a little bit of
Oh
a background
man,
there.
yeah, that's my turn, I guess. Yeah, so I went to Colgate University. I'm originally from Jersey, so Northeast is where it's at. New York, I miss you.
Love New
um,
York. Oh,
so I went to Colgate University. It's a small liberal arts school in upstate New York. If you guys know about it, then you know it's not the toothpaste company. If you don't, you definitely think I went to a toothpaste company college. From Colgate, I ended up playing soccer actually. So I spent a couple months out in Madrid playing for the oldest club in Spain actually called Moratalas. They invented tiki taka, if you know what that is. And from there, I ended up coming back and moving to Kansas City, where I started playing for Sporting KC. So by trade, I'm naturally an athlete, and with that, I like to think that I'm a little psycho. There's something that's wired a little wrong. If I find passion and purpose in something, there's nothing that will stop me from pursuing it and continuing in that journey.
yeah.
Unfortunately, when I was out in KC, I tore my abs and my groins through sports hernia and just kind of kept playing through it to the point where everything tore up and ended up having like a year and a half surgery recovery where, it just wasn't going to turn out for me again. So from there, I moved down here, started working for JP Morgan Chase doing wealth management stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's when I met you, buddy.
Yeah.
I came down here and I was like, you know what? I'm a washed soccer player. Let me go and join co-ed and beer league, and it's just going to be a great time.
Oh my God.
And so I came down here. I was working wealth management, and like you, I identified very early on the lifestyle that I wanted to live and the values that I find important in my life, which are my family, my friends, my freedom, and the ability to do what I want when I want to do it. And then also to be able to impact the world the way that I see I want to impact the world, not be told how to impact the world.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, I will say this. I think, and I'm not saying my business is successful, nor will it be, but I think that the best business ideas come from things that come naturally to you if you don't think too hard, because that means it's an obvious solution that needs to be solved in society. So for me, I was working in the office, and obviously I'm managing a lot of my clients, and with that comes a level of wealth naturally, right?
Sure. Especially at JP Morgan
Yeah.
Chase.
So I understood naturally. You guys have the funds to take care of your children, pay for childcare, pay for whatever it is that you need, daycare, but they all tended to show up with strollers in the meeting still, and they would get interrupted. And I just started asking the natural questions. Hey guys, what's going on here? Like, why can't you get involved with this? Why can't you get daycare services? What are the childcare field looking like? And their response to me was, well, Kian, we need to be on a daycare list with the name and gender of the child 2.5 years before we conceive them. And I said, well, that's impossible. And they said, yep, makes sense. I said, yep, makes sense. And then I was like, what's the alternative? And their answer to me was 17-year-old children that don't know what they want to do with their life and don't know how to take care of themselves. And so for me, that right there was the natural problem that I saw. And I don't have kids. I'm not old enough to necessarily be there, in my opinion. But I still see it as a massive problem in society. And that automatically equated for me in terms of empowerment for women. So this is where I'll get into my emotions of what I sell.
Yeah.
The natural inhibitor here is the fact that we push women empowerment in the workplace and in leadership, but they never get the opportunity to fulfill that because we're not supporting the things they need to continue, right? So when you look at pushing women's wages and their leadership roles within their companies, they still have to commit career suicide when it comes time to have a child. And that will bring them all the way back to square zero. The problem is we're not elevating that childcare sector for them in order to propel them forward in the women empowerment movement we claim to be pursuing and supporting. So for me, it's trying to support and make that empowerment movement real, where they have genuine support to pursue that if that is what they want to do. And on the other side, just the natural bridge of, okay, well, who would be a natural child care provider? Caretakers who are natural caretakers. Well, a lot of people can be, but the only ones that genuinely go to school, get certified, and get proven that they're caretakers are nurses.
Yeah.
So there's nothing more elevated than a nurse. I looked at that side of the table, but it's really rough, the life that they live. They are overworked, underpaid, undervalued, underappreciated, and there's nothing that And there's nothing that we can do about it other than just keep supporting them in any way possible. Most of them, their suicidal rates for that industry is higher than any other industry. Their turnover rates are higher than any other turnover rate industry. And so for me, it was just a natural movement of empowerment. Well, I can empower nurses by making them childcare providers, which technically they're entrepreneurs, can work their own jobs. And then that also supports women in business because now they have somebody that they know they can trust to take care of their kids.
You know, it's funny you say that because we come more or less from the same space, right? Vanguard, JP Morgan.
Yeah.
And we had the same experiences, but the takes we took on it were different, right? That's kind of like that uncommon, right? Same experience, but uncommon paths that we end up taking.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at mine and I said, I can do this better. When I was at that firm in Indianapolis, I'm like, I can do this better and I can do it better for life. I can do it better for my clients. You look at it and you're like, hey, I can still do better for the clients, but I'm going to take a completely different take on it.
I'm going to do something different.
Yeah, I'm going to do something different. Right. And that emotion, I guess, like you have something that touches home and that drives a strong emotion. Right. That drives a very strong emotion. So I guess maybe in my, you know, I actually don't know the answer to this either. Like, what are you hoping out of Nurses to Nannies? Like, I know we have the one, like, you know, philanthropic, like, woman empowerment side of it. But, like, from you personally, what are you hoping to gain from this?
For me, I've found that my niche in terms of entrepreneurship is community. Helping community, salvaging community, building community, reforming community. Right? Because even with this that we're doing, we're trying to improve and impact a community.
Yeah.
And so my overall goal, essentially, if I could classify it into something, is probably just humanitarian efforts. I want to make an impact and I want to change the way that childcare is perceived, children are taken care of, mothers are taken care of, and then also how nurses are taken care of. My natural inhibitor for that is essentially my inner drive. It's part of why I became a pro soccer player too, right? Yeah. I was always the person that I wanted eyes on me and I wanted to be able to impact people in a positive way through that. So like, if your attention is on me, can I impact you? Can I make you feel something? Can I give you emotions? And that naturally stemmed from soccer where I'm more of a flair type player. Yeah. And I gained that just through joy of hearing ooh, ah. Ooh, ah, and knowing that
I mean,
I'm making somebody happy, I'm making somebody intrigued, I'm making somebody passionate. Yeah. And those were things that naturally in me, I always understood I enjoyed myself. So I kind of took it and transcended it in a more mature way of, okay, well, let me try to see if I can impact society rather than just make the next kid want to play soccer or the next kid want to just look cool on a field or like do cool things. Like, no, there's definitely a higher level of, I would say, inherent goodness that I want to make a difference. I don't think that the freedom of life is tied into that. Like, I just think for me, I just want to make a big difference. And I don't think that working for big corporations allows you to really do that.
Yeah. You know, it's funny as you're talking about the whole soccer and the flair, because we're relatively similar in how like we play. We're a little bit more shifty. We're a little bit more in the middle, and obviously not no more since the knees gave out. But what I'll say is, I was thinking about what I think transposes itself so well from like being in soccer, you know, from when I played in Germany, from when I played in Spain, and even in college, and taking that to where I am now. And I think the underlying emotion that I love, and I don't think I will ever be able to replicate this to the extent that I was able to on the soccer field, but it's that competition, that competitive, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Mamba mentality, that competition that I think, I mean, to this day, I continue to like chase. It's kind of like that high, that dopamine hit that you continue to chase. Like when you beat the other team or when you score a game winner in the 90th or when you do all these different kind of like the oohs and the ahs or you make someone look stupid on the field. Like those little kind of like overcoming or like being better or pushing yourself, right? That's the other thing. Like pushing yourself to the limit has always been something that I myself, even when I was training, even when I was playing, you know, I would always try and emulate that.
And you know why that it's funny you mentioned that. It's very transcendent in terms of entrepreneurship, right? Because think about the things that we're all trying to accomplish. We're going out and when we start at square one, everybody's going to tell you, you cannot do that. it's not going to work. And they're going to give you a statistic of, do you know how many startups fail? Do you know how many people have an exit? We were talking about the
Yeah.
exit earlier today.
Yeah, we were.
Do you know how many people have an exit?
Yeah.
And they'll throw you all those negatives. And it's that Mamba mentality, it's that competitive nature, that drive to just want to be great and to make a difference that pushes you forward. And that's where I say, like, we're psycho. The
Yeah, we
reason
are.
why I say we're psycho is because we understand the odds that are against us, and we still say, okay, let's go do it.
And I think part of it, call it overconfidence, call it ego, call it whatever you want to call it, but I think it's like you have to have a genuine disillusional belief
In yourself. And what you're trying to accomplish.
You have to. And I mean, I think about, some of the biggest companies in the world. Like, for me, the one that comes to mind is like Elon Musk. Like, he's built all these crazy companies, right? And all the time people would tell him, oh, PayPal, like, you can't do that. Ends up selling it for a crazy exit. Then ends up building SpaceX, ends up building Tesla. And look at where those are. And say what you want about the guy and character with this, that, one, the sort. But from a business perspective and that sort of like disillusional belief in yourself, you can't question that.
Dude, the guy is flying rockets out and landing them back down.
It's insane. It's insane. I mean, if you were
that
to tell
was
someone,
told to be impossible. Say that to JFK.
But-
Say that to JFK.
and the craziest thing is, like, he's been saying that for years. Right? And everyone else is like, yeah, you're out of your damn mind. Like, that's insane.
Speaking of Elon Musk, and this ties to anybody. So honestly, if you're not a founder yet and you're just watching this and you're interested in trying entrepreneurship, here's something that you should probably, founder key number 2. Whatever you want to be, you can be. There's a roadmap for anything. If you want to be Elon Musk, you can, but the question is, are you willing to do what it takes? All the dark side of the stuff, the hard work that nobody sees behind closed doors, the years and hours of putting yourself through those lonely periods and those lonely cycles of just working, and getting done what you need to do and focusing. People aren't willing to do that to be who they want. They just go, ooh, that looks cool. I want to be LeBron James. Do you really want to be LeBron James, right? And so, like, think about Elon Musk. What did he decide to do? I want to be Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
I want to be Iron Man. How do I do that?
Yeah. And I'll take it one step further, because you said that you're like, hey, if you want to be anyone, you can, there's a path for that.
You can be.
And I'll take it a step further than that. And let's say there isn't a path for that yet, and you're thinking of starting your journey, right? You're thinking of starting your own path down entrepreneurship, kind of like what Kian said. You create the path. And the beauty of being the first one to do it is there's no one to say whether you're doing it right or wrong, because you're the one setting the bar, you're the one setting the standard, right? And at the end of the day, kind of goes back to why we started this. Like, we're hoping to inspire another generation of entrepreneurs. And, I was talking to my old boss from Vanguard at dinner last week, or maybe it was this week, everything's blurring together. But the next Google is in an industry that hasn't even been created yet. Right?
Yeah.
The next Google is going to be in something that we probably can't even fathom.
There will never be another.
But there's going to be some 8-year-old kid, in a few years that's like, oh, this is a new industry. This is a whole new thing, right? And they're going to see it clear as day, and we're going to be these old heads that are like, oh, man, well, I'm doing my wealth management, you're doing the nanny, and there's something brand new coming up, So I think that's always, like, insightful to look at.
It's very interesting that you say that and bring things up like that. I was having a conversation with one of my friends who's also, she's a Forbes 30 under 30 founder, and she works in bioengineering.
Nice.
And so I was having a conversation with her, and interestingly, the topic of that kind of came up. Like, if you want to start something, just do it. And it's like, where do you start? Well, that's perspective. You just need to go. Any direction you face is forward as long as you turn and see it that way.
That's good.
So if I look forward right now and take a step forward, I'm forward. If I turn right before I take a step forward, well, I'm still looking forward. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going forward, back, left, or right until I actually take a movement. Yeah. And then I don't know if I want to go left, right, back, or forward. I can want to go backwards.
Yeah.
And that can be the way to go, but I won't know unless I take that step.
Yeah.
And so part of the journey, it's like, you always hear this, it's the journey is the job. The journey is the role. The journey is the life. Because it's a constant recurring theme of learning, growing, messing up, learning, growing, messing up. And in order to do that, you need to be able to take your steps forward. Literally, just go in a direction and see what happens. Throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. But don't make the same mistake and keep throwing the same thing at the same part of the wall.
I think that reminds me of something that I myself kind of, when I was first like starting up Totem and when I was kind of going through everything I was going with at the old firm, it kind of like punched me in the mouth, right? Like it caught me off guard. So I was at a place that I thought I would have spent the rest of my life. And then when all things hit, everything hit the fan, I kind of took a few days to kind of feel whatever I had to feel. And I keep coming back to like this quote, and I can't remember for the life of me. I've been trying to remember who said this, but it's, most people in life want to take the gun, ready it, aim it, and then fire. But the best entrepreneurs and the best business owners, and honestly, the best action takers are the ones that ready it, fire it, and then aim after for the next shot, right? You take the gun, you shoot it, and you just do it. And then you see how far you are from target, how far off you are from target, and then you readjust your path, or you readjust the approach, or you readjust something. But you have to take that first shot first.
How do you know what's right or wrong when it hasn't been done yet?
That's the beauty of it.
It's the same point.
Yeah.
How do you know what's right or wrong if it hasn't been done yet?
Yeah.
You got to do it to figure out if it's right or wrong.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
And that kind of goes into something else that I've heard this one. This one was introduced to me like a really long time ago. I don't even know where this guy is. He was one of my very first coaches, some British guy. His name was Tony Williams. Okay. His whole thing about training and coaching was never about the soccer part of it. It was all about the mental aspect of it. Like this dude taught us so many different lessons in life that it just transcended everything. And the kids that this guy had was insane. Like a quarter of the U.S. men's national team was with this guy. And I promise you, they all remember him. I promise you, they all remember all his stories, all the lessons. It does not fade. Yeah. And one of his favorite quote of all time, and it's not his. I don't even know whose it is. I attribute it to him. It's the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary.
I like that.
So
that's catchy. That's good.
But it's true, right?
Yeah.
So like you need to put in the work. You need to go do something before you see if you're going to succeed or fail at it. If you're going to have a setback, you need to grow and change. It's like everything you're saying, dude. Absolutely. 100%. You're 100% right.
That makes me think of I used to have this coach, and rest in peace. His name's Michael Clifford. He passed away from cancer. And he is this Jamaican guy, thick accent, but he was one of the best people and best coaches I ever had in my life. And thinking back to what you said about Tony, he's produced some ballers, like a lot of ballers that go off and do things in college, at all levels, and go off and even play further than that. He was one of those guys that didn't believe in anxiety. He was old school, right? He didn't believe in anxiety.
Mental health doesn't exist.
Yeah, mental health doesn't exist. He's like, why are you crying? I'll give you a reason to cry. Why get on the line now? Go cry. He was one of those guys.
Hard nosed.
Hard nosed. Yeah. And to this day, I remember, he used to say these things. He's like, why are you guys nervous? Why are you guys nervous? Why do you guys feel anxiety? Anxiety comes from doubt. And reps remove doubt. Mm-hmm. Repetitions take away the doubt. Mm-hmm. Repetitions, and he says, that doubt comes because you feel you're not ready. But I can guarantee you that we've trained enough, and we've done these practices enough times, and we've watched enough film, and we've done all these things enough times that I have no doubt in you guys.
That's such a great point because, like, the perseverance so, like, I am just past my building stage. And I'm finally in raising, and nice. It's doing well, very well.
You're killing it.
I have a lot of...
I think well is an understatement.
I have a lot of... reality. Yeah. Nothing's done yet. Still have lots of hopes.
Always.
But it's very interesting that you mentioned something like that because that's exactly the point that's needed when it comes to stages like building, right? A lot of the things you're going to do is like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't really know if this is the right direction. I don't really know if I should be doing this. And so, like, you need to just have the constant tenacity to keep showing up every single day and knowing that not every day of work looks like a full day of work. Some days you're sitting there for 3 hours doing absolutely nothing and you're just thinking or you're stuck. But being stuck and going, I am stupid. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm thinking about is part of the journey of getting there. Because you have to get past that thought of sitting there for 3 hours to get to the genius thought that's going to come right afterwards.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you don't have the tenacity to do those types of things, you're going to sit there and you're going to give up the first time you get stuck or the first time you have a fallback or a setback or something like that. It's like, yeah, like, you need to be hard-nosed.
Yeah.
It's like you just need to keep pushing every day. And every day that you keep pushing, you get closer to that gold. It's like the analogy of, I know everybody's seen that meme of, like, the two people axing for gold, right? And the one guy turns around right before, and
right
the other
before
guy's,
the diamonds.
and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other guy's still going for the diamonds. And so that's such a factual thing. You will always strike your gold. You will always strike your diamonds if you just stay in it and keep going, right?
Yeah.
Because time will take out competition. But that's a different metric for everybody. Like, some people's time might be 1 year. Some people's time might be 2. Some might be 3 months. Some might be 10 years.
Yeah.
You never know. But I can guarantee you that time definitely takes away competition and time definitely leads to success. It's just how long are you willing to keep going until you strike that?
Yeah. That reminds me of the whole, kind of concept of it's hard to beat someone that doesn't give up. It's hard to beat someone that doesn't stop, right? Because at the end of the day, no matter how many times, as corny and as cliche as it sounds, like as many times as you get kicked down, like, you just have to keep getting up, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, put it this way. I guess the easiest way to equate this is honestly probably athletics. So, because if I go into business, like, well, everybody requires different business things that they need to do, mindsets, frames, works, different actions. If I'm in the gym at 4 a.m. every morning, you're in the gym at 7 a.m. every morning. Well, I'm compiling 3 extra hours every single day on top of you. So now I'm 3x better than you. Tomorrow I'm 6x better than you. The day after that, I'm 9x better than you. And it just keeps getting more and more and more and more. And so, like, everything when you get into a field, like, if we're being real, most people end up being some level of consultant nowadays.
Yeah.
Just because they rack up 20x years of experience in their field and go, okay, I'm going to do this on the side. That's time.
Yeah.
Time is making them succeed. Time is getting them to the point where they're an expert in their field and people are going to buy their services for the fact that they've just spent that much time in that field.
And it's funny because I think back to your experience at JP Morgan Chase, kind of being in these client meetings. Had you never taken that path at all, it raises the question, like, would you ever have spotted that problem?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Right?
I needed to be exactly where I was at the exact time that I was with the exact person who I was even with to understand the bridge of exactly what I'm doing.
And that goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of, like, how niche, right? All these different things that dragged you and all the different obstacles and all the different pathways, that could have led to that one moment at that one time had to click at the same exact time for it to all make sense. And I mean, even me, I had to get my teeth kicked in, right? Had to have that experience with the partnership I was at. And who's to say if everything had kept going, I could have still been there, right? I would have never been in this position.
Yeah.
Because I would have been content.
Yeah, and I would push it to, like, positive mindset and mind frames on things. It's like, was I necessarily happy at that job? No, because I didn't want that lifestyle, but, I took the most of it. I decided to show up every day, and being present every day allowed me to care enough to ask the questions to figure out what it was that I was actually going to end up doing.
And like we were saying in the car, on our way here, part of it is just showing up.
Have to.
Right. Part of it is just saying yes to these opportunities, and you want to do something, just go do it.
Speaking of the car, the whole thing of what is luck? So luck is when preparation meets opportunity, okay? And so for me, I buy into this wholeheartedly because I believe that that's exactly what that was. That is my moment of luck.
Yeah.
It is everything I have ever done in my life was oriented to I'm going to be an athlete, I'm going to be a soccer player. There's nothing else that I'm going to do in my life, and everything that it is that to be that, I'm going to embody it. Mind, body, spirit. Nothing else. That is who I am. If you know me, you have known me. Like, anybody can attest to that. That is my identity. That's who I was.
Yeah.
Within that, there is so much that is expansive for just the human development and character outside of athletics. That was my preparation to what I wanted to do ultimately, right? And so, like, I could have torn myself up. I finally made my dream. I tore my abs. It's all gone. Like, this sucks. What am I going to do next? It all got taken away, all this hard work that I put together for 22 years of my life. Yeah. Well, I'm going to take all of that and I'm going to turn it into this. I'm going to manifest it into this. Yeah. I'm going to take that box of whatever that box is and that toolkit, and I'm going to make it into a luggage. Yeah. And that luggage is going to be what I need to go do what I'm doing now.
You know, and it's funny you say that, because I'm thinking through kind of like my luck, right? And I'm thinking through, as we were talking about the competition and what drives us, and we're trying to emulate that experience, that dopamine hit of like being on the field and having the crowd cheer and all these different things, and being better than your opponent, right? Being better than the people around you. You know, had I not torn up my left knee, right? Meniscus, LCL, PCL, MCL, you know, I was very grateful for the experiences I had, but I did, when my identity got absolutely shattered, because I'm no longer the soccer player. I'm no longer the one who still has those aspirations to go pro, right? I had like some pretty dark moments that I'm pretty confident had I not had those, I probably wouldn't be as like level-headed as I am now, because I would still be living in those like high, what I would call strenuous environment that I was during those times.
Let me ask you something. Would this not be your true identity then? And it helps you discover your true identity of what you're doing and who you are? It's like your purpose. Yeah. Your purpose and calling coming to you. Yeah. Like, that was the preparation of what you needed to do and become in order to get what you actually deserved.
Yeah, and that's where the faith comes in.
And that's where the opportunity comes in. That was the life that you thought was your opportunity was your preparation for your opportunity. And that worked out exactly the same thing for me. The thing that I thought was my opportunity and my purpose ended up being my preparation.
Yeah. No, you're spot on.
And this could be another preparation.
Yeah, what's next?
For whatever the actual opportunity might be. I don't know what that is, but all I can do is be present in it every single day and make sure that I don't lie to myself. I'm 100% invested in what it is that I'm doing to find that next purpose, or to find the ultimate purpose rather, and to find that ultimate goal of what I'm trying to achieve. It might be this. It might not. This might turn around and fail, and I need to figure out, what did I learn? What did I do? And how do I improve, and what am I going to do next? You never know.
That just means you turn to the right and you take a step forward again.
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
I just turn another direction and say this is forward, and just keep going. That's beautiful. Okay. Anyways, so that was kind of a little segmentation of what we'll get into a little bit, I would say. Yeah. This was more of an intro of us introducing ourselves as the catalyst and obviously insignificant pieces of this podcast. Our interviews are probably going to be more significant with more expertise and more mentorship ideas than we would have, as as potential successes.
We're small apples. We're nothing. We're just here to learn.
We're here to learn.
That's why we ask questions. We're not being interviewed.
Yeah, and so we'll be throwing out founder keys here and there. We'll be drawing upon certain quotes from books that we like as well, in order to spin that into lessons or things that you can take and apply into your life and journey as you're going through it. And we'll obviously be updating you guys with the events as well as we go through this podcast, road mapping some of the people that we'll have on here. And we would love to just have anybody give us feedback. If you want to hop on. If you want to support. If you want to join the community, we're always here to welcome new entrepreneurs and really get it started.
Yeah. And Kian, where, for anyone that feels inclined to do so, where can they learn about you or, learn about Nurses to Nannies?
Oh, that's a great point, actually. So I am not actually a very social person when it comes to social media. I've gotten...
That's cap. No, he's social. He just has no social media.
Yeah.
He's social.
I'm not social. I'm not social when it comes to social media. I don't... so I take social and go, no, that's real life. Yeah. So I don't have any personal socials outside of my LinkedIn, which I think, just quick point, personal branding is very important to some capacity, and that's the reason why I do my LinkedIn, because it's the most professional version of it.
Yeah.
But you can catch that Kian Alberto, LinkedIn. All the socials for Nurses to Nannies are just Nurses to Nannies. We have Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, our website, etc. Linktree can have everything on there. But you can definitely catch us on there. And then you, obviously.
Yeah, I'm very big into the whole personal branding Instagram thing.
His
So
Instagram aesthetic is beautiful.
I love that. God. You can find me at _Sal A Perez. And if you're ever intrigued to learn more about what Totem Wealth Management does, hop onto our website, exactly as it sounds, totemwealthmanagement.com. And feel free to reach out.
Yeah, so you can also find us here, support us on here, share it with your friends. We're really starting the community now, so we would love to expand it as much as possible, because this will help us as much as it'll help you guys, and it'll
Hopefully.
help our interviewers as well.
Yeah.
We really just want to build a community, bring in support, and make sure that you guys are all welcomed, and know that none of you guys are alone in this world or alone in your journeys.
Yeah.
You can find us on the Founded community across all platforms for Founded, and for Uncommonality Podcast would be Uncommonality Podcast.
With that being said, I had fun. You have fun?
It was a great time. We'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.